안녕하십니까. 더 리더 최남수입니다. 오랜 글로벌 경제 위기 속에서도 야무진 모습으로 성장을 지속하고 있는 유럽의 경제 강국이 있습니다. 분단의 아픔을 겪었던 역사와 제조업 중심의 경제 구조까지 우리나라와 공통점이 많은 나라, 바로 독일인데요. 오늘 더 리더는 슈테판아우어 주한독일대사님을 모셨습니다. 세계적인 경제 강국으로 도약한 독일의 성공 비결과 한국과 독일 간의 협력 확대 방안에 대해서 얘기 나눠보겠습니다. 네, 안녕하십니까. 스테판 대사님. Thank you for joining us today, despite your busy schedule. You are the German ambassador to Republic of Korea since September last year. Please say hello to our viewers.
Hello, I'm pleased to be here. I'm delighted to be part of this very prestigious program.
Would you give us your thoughts or feelings while you're being in Korea? What do you think the differences and similarities between two countries are?
Well, first of all, let me tell that I'm particularly honored and privileged to be German ambassador to Korea. When I was asked where I would like to go, I said I would like to go to Korea. And I'm very happy and glad that it was realized that I was now here since September of this year. And I must say that I feel very much at home already now. When you speak about similarities and differences, I think we have a lot of things in common. We are two anchors of stability in our respective regions. We are two very vibrant and lively democracies. We are economic powerhouses. And of course, we are also very much trade-oriented. We have an economic structure which is similar to one another. So there are a lot of similarities. One other similarity is, of course, is the division we have experienced, division of our country, which unfortunately our Korean friends still experience today. And that is perhaps also one of the major differences between our two nations, that you are still living in a separated country, when we were so fortunate 40 years ago, more or less, or 25 years ago, to overcome our division and to live in peace and freedom. And we do hope that our Korean friends will also have the historic opportunity to do that.
So as you mentioned, Korea and Germany have the same historical background, namely the division of nation. We have had close relations for 134 years, very long time, since we established diplomatic ties. So what would be the meaning of Korea to Germany?
As you said, our relation dates back to the century before the last century. So a very long time. And it was shaped by person and by events. For instance, did you know that Paul Georg von Möllendorf in 1882 became Vice Foreign Minister, a German Vice Foreign Minister here in Korea under King Gojong. Today, 134 years later, more or less, we have very, very close relationships in all areas, be it politics, economy, science, research, culture, and people-to-people context. And I would like in particular to stress the human dimension, this people-to-people context, because they're the basis of our bilateral relations, and they're very important. You can go through all the hiccups of bilateral relations if you have solid human relations. And there I would like to stress that around 5 decades ago, some 20,000 Korean nurses and miners came to Germany and established very profound and good relations to Germany. And they, many of them have remained in Germany. Their children are studying in Germany, and to that added some other, representative from the businesses. So we have one of the biggest Korean communities outside of Korea living in Germany. So this is just to say how important our bilateral relations are.
Literally, Germany is an economic giant, have very strong economy. And Germany is an important role model for Korea. So please introduce strengths. Tell us something about the strengths of the German economy and what do you think, what factors do you think are contributed to this?
I think that in spite of these very difficult European and international environment, the German economy is doing quite well. The economic growth is robust. We have a record employment rate, as many as we have never had in the history. We have a record unemployment rate, it's falling constantly. And for the third succeeding year, we have a budget surplus. That is, this to say that we have more revenues than we are spending. So overall conditions are very good. Of course, there are certain political uncertainties which may have an impact on our economy, but the status of our economy at the moment is rather good. And as I said, it's robust. Now, what are the reasons? If you ask me what are the reasons, that is, of course, not always easy to pinpoint on one of two factors. I think that there are many factors which are perhaps an explanation for this robust status of the German economy. First of all, I would say that there is a diversified economic structure in Germany. We have many small and medium-sized enterprises. Some of them, even 2,000 of them, are hidden champions. That is to say, they're very, very successful in their areas of activity, of economic activity. Then another reason could be also that there's a very good cooperation between big and small companies, or medium-sized companies. I think this is something which is also very important. And also to note that there is a very close linkage between science and research and universities engaged in applied sciences and small and medium-sized enterprises and big companies. And another reason perhaps for the success of the German economy is the vocational training, the vocational education, the dual education we are practicing in Germany. You would need to know that this educational system is producing the skilled and qualified workers we need for the companies. And then, of course, we also got quite good relations between the companies and the trade unions. So the environment for the companies to do business and for the workers to work in the companies is very positive. So all this adds up to a very innovative and competitive German industry, which is also very interesting, of course, for foreign companies to invest in.
So you just mentioned one of the factors to make the German economic giant is the small and medium-sized enterprises, right? So what are the strengths, I mean, the advantages of those companies, and would you give us some advice, I mean, how we can make the strong small and medium-sized enterprise out of your experiences? Yeah.
It's always difficult to give advice, but I can only mention the German example and the German structure as we have it in Germany. The Mittelstand, as we call these small and medium-sized enterprises, are more or less, and always used to be, the backbone of the German economy. Just to give you some figures, over 95% of German companies are small and medium-sized enterprises. They train 84% of our trainees and skilled workers. They train them, they form them, and they provide about 60% of the workforce. So just to show you how important the Mittelstand is for the German economy. Many are family businesses, and they have a certain business culture which combines, ownership, liability, and a managerial solid spirit, And I think this is very important because they think in the long-term perspective. They think about long-term relationship to the employees. Again, very important, the relationship between the employer and the employee, but also with regard to their suppliers and to their customers, the consumers. They think in a very long-term perspective. They don't think that much into how do my quarterly figures will look like at the end of the quarter. So they look more in a long-term perspective. And as I said, some 2,000 of them are hidden champions. They are very successful in their specific area of expertise. And they have very good relations to their customer and clients and talk to them, how can we improve our goods? How can we improve our services and products? I think this is also very important. Now, when it comes to the reasons for this success, then I would say it's partly also due to our history, to our decentralized structures, state structures. We have some centers of excellence, regional centers of excellence. Takes, for instance, the famous sports manufacturing equipment manufacturing companies Puma and Adidas. They're all, situated in Herzogenaurach, which is a small village in Germany. So they are not, clustered in one specific industrial zone or area, but they're dispersed all over Germany. So the decentralization is a very important issue. The second one, I think, is also the vocational education system we have, which produces these qualified and skilled workers these small and medium-sized enterprises need, and also the very close relationship to the top universities and to the applied sciences institutes. So this, combined with the high degree of globalization, many of them are worldwide active, are the reasons perhaps for the success. But I think at the end of the day, what you need are employers who have this entrepreneur spirit, who have the commitment, who are dedicated, persistent, and who have a vision and a strategy to implement it. And of course, you need the conducive environment.
So, as you know, the worldwide, the first industrial revolution is now taking place. And in 2010, about 7 years ago, the concept of post-industrial revolution was introduced at first in Germany. So, what is the current status of post-industrial revolution in Germany, and how does your government support it?
Industry 4.0, as we call it, the fourth industrial revolution, is one of the focus of the digital agenda of the German federal government. The German government wants to use this enormous potential of the fourth industrial revolution to solidify even further the manufacturing base and production base of the German economy. I think that smart digital production processes can increase productivity, can increase the resource efficiency, and of course also the quality and the competitiveness of an industry and of a specific company. Industry 4.0, or the fourth industrial revolution, can entail a lot of advantages. Makes the societies richer, healthier, and safer, because robots, computers can supplement workforce. So that they don't have to do the dangerous job anymore. But it creates jobs. But at the same time, it can also entail some dangers, in particular for those who are laid off by the fourth industrial revolution. So we have to think about them. We just cannot things happen like that. We need some policies. And this is why the German government has launched a Industrie 4.0 platform, a platform to discuss the consequences, the economic, societal consequences of the fourth industrial revolution. There's some 250 representatives from all walks of life, from the civil society, from trade unions, of course from the companies, from politics, from research, science, and they all come together to discuss the consequences, societal and economic consequences of the fourth industrial revolution. And I think if you have these policies in place and you have the political will to implement that, then you can be very successful with your economy, and then you can create that win-win situation you need for. And this is exactly what this industrial fourth platform is for.
So Germany is one of the most important trade partners of Korea. As a trade partner, how do you evaluate Korea, and what should be improved to enhance cooperation with Korea between the two countries?
Korea is for Germany now the second most important exportant destination. After Japan, after China, but before Japan. And Germany is conversely...
China, Korea, and Germany. I meant Japan.
Yeah, exactly. China, Korea, Japan in 2015. Germany, conversely, has been by far really the most important trading partner for Korea in Europe. Given that fact, and the fact that we have similar economic structures, you are very much export-oriented, as Germany is as well. And we are very much, we have a very high share of manufacturing. I think that we have a common interest to work together. Moreover, we are very complementary in what we are doing. Your Korea is very much specialized in the area of ICT, for instance. We Germans are specialized, for instance, in the car industry. So here we have a very good area of synergies where we can create win-win situations between the German and Korean companies. So I think this is an area where we can work together, but I think there's also more potential to increase our cooperation. We just mentioned the fourth industrial revolution. There's other areas, for example, small and medium-sized enterprises where we can work together, vocational training, or also the energy system. Because as you may know, Germany has transformed or is in the process of transforming its energy system and is very much into renewable energies, energy efficiency, and dismantling of nuclear power plants. I think this is something where we can also work very well together. And last not least, also on the international level. Germany has a G20 presidency, and there we need partners who, as Germany, are very much in favor of free trade. And Korea, as an export-oriented nation, needs free trade. So we very much think that we can work together for the benefit of free trade.
Yeah. So especially these days, the countries are worrying about the direction of the policy of the United States and China. And it's right.
Yes, I think that it's very important that we explain not only to others but also to our own society the benefits of trade. Because after all, as we see, monetary policy has its limits, budgetary fiscal policy has its limits. So I think trade is one of the remaining instruments to really boost the economy. And this is why I think both our economies would very much benefit from that.
I know that German science and technology is in very high standard. And in 1986, the two countries made an agreement for cooperation of the science and technology, and we have had the ministerial talks since 2007. So what would be a plan to widen the further cooperation?
I think our two countries as industrial and scientific powerhouses should work very closely together on this. I think here again we have very good complementary issues where we can work together. And this scientific cooperation has very much improved and has got a lot of dynamic over the last 10 years when the German Minister for Economic and Research and Education has launched a research campaign platform with which a lot of new forms of cooperation were introduced. It was more or less the starting point for very close cooperation between our two countries. For instance, the Max Planck Center in Postek, this technical university in Pohang, or 30 other forms of cooperation between the Fraunhofer Institute and their Korean counterparts. Moreover, we have some 400 bilateral cooperations between the universities. So there's there's a lot going on there. And I, as an ambassador, I don't have the opportunity to visit all of them, but this is really something which is very lively and very mutually beneficial. You mentioned the bilateral context between the governments. We have biannual consultations between our two governments. The next one is hopefully going to take place in autumn of this year, where we, sort of invite researchers to, to exchange, to come to Germany, to come to Korea on specific projects. And there we are thinking of projects in the field of ICT, medical sciences, and energy technology. And just to give you an idea how complex the situation is and which other areas we can work together, I would mention other areas which I think are very important for the competitiveness of our two industries. And that is in the area of e-mobility, smart cars, batteries, renewable energies, medical supply and sciences, and biotechnology advantages. So I think there's a lot of potential out there.
And my next question is about the German education system. The German education system for engineers is said to be one of the best in the world. Especially it trains adequate engineers for industrial needs and helps to resolve youth unemployment problem. So my question is, how does this educational system work?
Yes, I think there are two things which I would like to point out. One is the vocational training system. I think this is very important for us, that you can first, have a vocational dual education in very technical areas. For instance, as automobile engineer, you can have first a dual education, and then later on you can still decide whether you want to go to the university. But at least he has a dual vocational education, and then he can immediately start work afterwards. And there, a very skilled and qualified worker is provided for the small and medium-sized enterprises and big companies. The second issue is that we have very close links between a decentralized system of cooperation between the universities and non-university institutions, research institutions like the Fraunhofer or the Max Planck Gesellschaft, and companies. Also, companies are very much engaged and interlinked with the universities. So it's a very decentralized and interlinked system, which is the secret of it. And of course, you also have on the international level very close cooperation also with Korea.
When you talk about Germany, we cannot leave out of the unification story. As you said, the German has divided for 45 years and was unified in 1990 dramatically, right?
Yes.
Germany overcame the economic, political turmoil. Eventually, has become an economic giant. So, please give us some advice we should take from the unification process.
I think it's very difficult because we have different situations, economically, politically, social, different situations. For instance, we still had context. Also, in a divided country, we had context between the people of the two sides. We didn't wage a war against one another. So there's a lot of differences. But I think, if I may say so, we should never give up hope for unity, because also in Germany, unification came about more or less by surprise. Nobody really expected it to happen that fast. If I may point out three things which are perhaps important. One is, first of all, that it was the German people themselves, the East Germans, who stood up, who had the courage to stand up against their oppression and to topple the regime. Second, I think it was the Ostpolitik of the West German government to make the frontier more permeable. That is to say that there was an exchange between East and West Germans. They could visit one another, so that the sense of one nation was kept up. And the third one, the last point I would like to mention, is that, of course, Germany reached out to its neighbors to reconcile itself with East Europeans and also with West Europeans in the framework of European integration.
The time is almost up. Lastly, I'd like to know your plan for making better relationship between two countries in the future.
It's not easy because our relations are already excellent. So my
super excellent. Yeah.
No, my challenge would be to improve them even further. Now, when the two governments will be elected after the elections in 2017 in Korea and in Germany, and also my big challenge is also to keep up the very close people-to-people contacts. Now that the nurses and the miners are growing old, the new generation is now called upon to renew the very close ties of friendship and bonds between our two countries. And this is what I would like to contribute to.
슈테판아우어 독일 대사님을 통해서 독일 경제가 강한 이유에 대해서 들어봤습니다. 장기 저성장 국면에서 헤어나지 못하고 있는 우리 경제, 독일을 역할 모델 삼아서 경제 강국으로 거듭났으면 하는 소망을 가져옵니다. 오늘 출연해 주신 슈테판아우어 독일 대사님 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.